Hey, what's going on, everybody? Your boy Manny here once again. Welcome to another WNBA lineup advice video here at DFS Zone. And before I get started, like always, guys, I appreciate you drop a like. And if you have not subscribed as of yet, please do so down below. And do not forget to turn on those notifications. This way you do not miss any of my new uploads as well as live shows. So very important. Definitely put those notifications on. Okay, with that being said, today is Tuesday, August the 7th, 2018. We got a 4-game slate here in the WNBA. And before I get started with the slate, I truly am very sorry that this video is coming out to you guys very late. I'm going to try to be as quick as I can. And you guys know that even when I say I'm going to be quick, I still take long. Going to try to shorten it as fast as possible so that at least you guys have something to digest for the next couple hours. As you can see here on my screen, we're basically about 6 hours away from the slate starting and 5 hours away from the live show. There will be a live show later. I'm going to dissect all this in a little bit. I had a number of things I had to do this morning. I thought I was going to get done a lot faster, and unfortunately I ran into some traffic and it didn't pan out the way I wanted to. So but I definitely want to get a video out to you guys even if it's very late. So let's get going with it. So we have Seattle and Indiana. I have implied totals for that one is 163.5 with Seattle, the road team, visiting, favorite by 13. Obviously Seattle's coming in at 22-7, best team in the whole WNBA. Indiana's dead last at 5-23, but they have won 2 straight. They have been playing really good solid ball, and of course, always remember, Indiana as well as like New York, you know, some of these teams down there in the bottom of the well, they always find a way to battle. They give some teams some hard times. Indiana is in position to, definitely after Seattle coming off a game yesterday beating New York that was pretty close for about 3 quarters. I see the same thing could possibly happen here again today, so do not sleep on Indiana. But Indiana's coming in with 2 straight wins. They're 2-12 at home. They're really not that good at home. They haven't been good all year, but they have been playing better as of late. All right, Seattle's coming in. They're 11-3 on the road as well. The last 4 games, I'm gonna give you the last 4 games. As a matter of fact, right here, I'm gonna give you my Google stats. This is the team stats. Definitely after you watch the video, just, you know, come back to it, pause it, and just look at the screen, and you'll be able to, I made it as big as possible so that you guys can see it. This is what I normally give you guys: field goal percentage, you know, points, pace, the whole 9 yards. It's all here. As you can see, Seattle, all the green is all the advantages Seattle has, and as you can see, they're tops in field goals, 3-point percentage, rebound, assists, steals, blocks, points, and of course in percentage points from threes they are more superior to Indiana. Then of course there's a couple little tan boxes here. These are basically telling me they're pretty much even, so they're pretty much even in free throw shooting as well as turnovers, and as well as pretty much on pace, about 80 possessions a game each. So when you get a chance, just come back to the video, click on it. I would have read this out to you the way I normally read it out to you, but I figured because of press time I could save a lot of minutes by just going and just showing you my actual sheet. And then you basically can just pause it and come back to it later. I mean, watch the video, come back to it later, and take a look at it if you need to. All right, guys. All right, so we're gonna dive right in. The last 4 games these teams have played. Seattle comes in giving up 44.2 points per game to forwards and centers. That is actually 2 points better than their average. They're averaging 46.6 points per game to forwards and centers. At guard, they have 30 points per game they're giving up to guards. Their average is 30.5, so they're pretty much even there. So as of the last 4 games, they're pretty much right on track of where their average is. On the other side of the ball, Indy is coming in giving up 58 points per game to forwards and centers, and they're averaging 48.6 throughout the course of the season, which was one of their stronger points. But over the last 4 games, they have suffered. If you recall, in the last video, the last time they played, they were at 60, so they definitely improved in the last game by nearly 2 points in their average, but still 58 whopping points. That's still a negative 10 points from their average. They're giving up to the guards 34 points per game over the course of the last 4 games, and their average is 36, so they're actually positive 2 there in that category. So things to worry, you know, to be to consider in here. When I look at those numbers off the bat, and of course the sheet that I showed you beforehand as far as field goals, but we're definitely going to target Seattle players. Obviously, up front they can target Indiana. With Indiana giving up 58 points per game, I think Seattle's front court is definitely more superior. So you're definitely looking at Stewart. You're looking at Howard, who had a massive game yesterday. You know, anybody up front there, maybe even possibly Miss Clark, but Clark has been a little off. Then you also can concentrate on attacking Indiana as well as the backcourt. I definitely think Seattle's backcourt is better than Indiana's as well. So you can go that way with Sue Bird or a possible Jewell Loyd. When you look at the numbers that are created over the last 4 games as far as Seattle, is there anything that Indiana can attack? Maybe their backcourt, but not their front court. As far as the front court has been really strong for Seattle as of late. So it's probably going to be a tough night for Achanwa. I think Achanwa is definitely in a bad matchup here. I think the best matchup is probably Candace Parker. So let's dive into the game and let's discuss some of the players. We have Jewell Loyd coming in. Obviously she's in play, guys, no doubt about it. 7,800, pretty much need 38 from Jewell Loyd, and she's put up 31, pretty much 31 points plus, which I always look at the average. If you guys follow me, I always mention, look at what she's averaging and then see if she has actually been playing above her average as of late, and she has been. You know, she's put up 41, 46 here, 2 out of the last 3 games, and if you look at 31, she's been doing that in 3 straight games, as you can see. So she's been pretty solid as of late, and she's been doing that in a span of 28 to 31 minutes. So she's definitely in play. Definitely in play. It's all a matter of, do you want to pay $7,800 for her? Sue Bird is another one in play, and also to note, Jewell Loyd in the last game against, in the blowout game, matter of fact, in the blowout game against, excuse me here, in the blowout game against Indy here, the last time they played, she put up, where is it at? Right here. She put up 30 minutes. She put up a 25 spot, which is below her average, but in the game before that, she did play 29 minutes and put up a 41 spot. Got 25 points from the floor, 6 rebounds and 4 assists. Had a really nice, solid game. So we know the potential's there. All right, Sue Bird also in play, 7,000. It's a high number for her. You need about 35, so you need 7x from her, but she can get you close to it. She's good from about where she's at right there, 22 to about 26, 27. She can get you every day. She's a nice cash play, Sue Bird. All right, she's pretty consistent. All right, 5 out of her last 7 games, if you can see here, she is at 25 plus, which we're looking at her average to see if she's at least meeting average or playing above average, and she's been doing that. All right, so she's been doing really good, but definitely a good cash play. And if we look at the head-to-head against the team, 35, nearly a 36 spot in 26 minutes in the last game against Indy. 11 points, 2 rebounds, 11 assists. She also contributed with 2 steals. And then prior to that, in game 1, 26 minutes, 30 fantasy points, 5-3, 8-2, 3. She filled up the stat. She did definitely have 5 turnovers in that game. She could have had a better. She could have finished with about 36 fantasy points, and that's what we're looking for. So this matchup here is definitely all in for Jewell Loyd and Sue Bird. Any one of these girls, maybe even both, could have solid games here today. When you go to Indiana, not too fond of Indiana's guards. I mean, because we don't know which guard is going to go off, just like New York. Yesterday, Kia Nurse went off yesterday. I wasn't much on Kia Nurse. I thought she was definitely in play because I did a video for you guys as far as for that 1-game slate. I kind of banked on Boyd and Hartley, and it didn't pan out for me. Kia Nurse was the one that I was all in on. Everybody else, I was right on with Natasha Howard. I was right on with Loyd or with Stewart, anywhere you wanted to go. In my lineups, I pretty much bulked up, stacked up on those girls. But when it came to the New York girls, I was good with Amanda. I definitely had her. And I'm getting myself away from everything. But again, this is the deal here. So let's go on. Erica Wheeler. So Erica Wheeler set 5,700. I think she's probably one of the better plays for Indiana here. So I mean, she has gone 6 straight games hitting at least her average of 19 or better. So not too bad. She has been playing well. She's getting anywhere between 24 and 27 minutes. In previous game against Seattle, she put here 25 and 24 minutes, more than 1 fantasy point per minute. And then that was in game 1, and then in game 2, just recently, she put up pretty much a 21 spot in 27 minutes. So she's been probably the most, I would say the one indie player that's had a little bit of success against Seattle. I'm not on Kelsey Mitchell. Victoria Vivian's, you could take a stab at her. She's got some upside, so I wouldn't completely eliminate her. So definitely she's someone you can consider. Pondexter is getting quite a bit of minutes. You can go with Pondexter as well. I'm not on Tiffany Mitchell, but you never know. It's just hard to gauge. Remember, all this is being looked at for the first time, guys. When I come back for the live show later on, I'm going to be able to tell you more or less what I think are really the best possible plays, team stacks, game stacks like usual, and of course be able to tell you what I think are probably some good value plays. Going into this actual slate right here, to pause for a moment, I see some pretty good value plays, more especially in the forward position. So we'll touch on that as we go. But again, you could go with Pondexter if you want. 4,500. You need 22. 2 out of her last 5 games, she's been at 22 plus. But she hasn't gotten in against Minnesota as of yet. So against Seattle. So maybe, just maybe, she might have a solid game here for them. I'm not on anybody else here. We go to the forwards. And this is plain and simple: Stewart, Howard, Dupree. Pretty much those are the 3. And now I see here, this was not here last night. And now we see here game time decision on Clark. So there's going to be, some possible value here. So we got to definitely monitor that game time decision there on Alicia Clark. If she's out, definitely you could start thinking of Langhorne, Courtney Paris, as well as Miss Lewis, and some of those other girls back there. More so Langhorne and Paris, at least for Seattle. All right, so, and that also opens up the doors for Indiana to play better as well, because I was not on Natalie Chanwa. I definitely like Candace Dupree here, Natasha Howard, and Breonna Stewart. I ain't going to touch up on Breonna Stewart. We know she's in play. She's 50-plus upside. She's just, a great all-around player. She had a massive game last night. I do want to touch up on Natasha Howard. I like Natasha Howard here. She played a great game yesterday against New York. She is just, again, these girls up front are very athletic. They're very, she is solid everywhere around. She is like Sanders, but obviously a little bit better. At times, she's even way better than Sanders. But 14, 10, 2, 5, and 5 yesterday. It's an incredible game, especially defensively, with 10 rebounds. And then, of course, they probably was, I think there was 7 of these rebounds were, or 8 of them were defensive. So, I mean, very, very good rebounding. 5 blocks, 5 steals, solid play, 29 minutes, 58 fantasy points. That is an impressive outing for Natasha Howard yesterday. And then, of course, the last time she played Indiana, here you go, 44 spot in 29 minutes. And then in the prior game after that, the first game of the season, first time they played each other, she put up pretty much a 33 spot in 24 minutes. I don't think they really have an answer for her there, because she's so athletic, she's so wide. She gets up and down the court so fast as well too. This is what makes this team so dangerous, is how quickly they can move and get up on transition. So I definitely love the front court of Seattle, definitely over Indiana. And if you're going to go with Indiana, I would say Candace Dupree, 7,400, definitely in play. All right, she's 7,400. You pretty much need about 36. That is pretty high for her, but she can get you there. As you can see, she's got a 39 spot in the last game. 2 games back, got 38. I mean, she's been in the 30s quite a bit. You look at to see if she's around her average, and yes, she has been. She's been pretty much 7 out of her last 8 games. She's been at least 25 or better. So she has been very, very solid for Indiana as of late. And I think she is the one that has the best matchup going in, because she is a little bit more athletic. She's able to hit from the key, she's able to hit from the wing, and she's also able to get up there up front and be able to get some putbacks and battle a little bit. So Candace Dupree, definitely like her here. And like I said, let's see here against Seattle, last game, 38 fantasy points, 38 and a half in 34 minutes, had a solid 14 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. Really, really solid game. And in game 1, she has some success. Did she have some? Yeah, she actually did not play in game 1. No, she did. Sorry, right here. I thought I did see it. 32, 5, 7, and 1. 31 spot in 32 minutes. Nearly 1 fantasy point per minute. Candace Dupree, could be a possible nice play for Indiana. And like I said, right now, knowing that Clark is a little bit injured, there's a possibility for more minutes for Langhorne. Definitely opens up some more minutes for Paris. Of course, if this game gets out of hand, then you're looking at some value play possibly for Indiana. Maybe Miss McCall, more so Stephanie Mavunga. I think she's been getting more time than anyone else there. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for this game, guys. Let's go to Las Vegas and Atlanta. Las Vegas, Atlanta. Implied totals 167. They're that's second best implied totals for this actual slate. Atlanta's at home. They're favored by 8. Atlanta comes in as the second team in the league at 18-10. All right, and Las Vegas is coming in 9th, battling for a playoff spot. They're 12-15. One thing to know here, they're 6-8 on the road, so they're a fairly good road team for a team that's under 500. That is pretty impressive. We go over to the last 4 games. Okay, again, real quickly, Las Vegas, Atlanta. That information is here as far as field goal percentage and so on and so forth, as far as team stats. So you can always go back to that. We're gonna go right and dive into the game. Last 4 games, Las Vegas is giving up 50.2 points per game to forwards and centers, and their average is 50.8. So they're pretty much on point as far as being even as far as for the season average. Guards, they're 38.6 points per game. Their averaging is 30. The average for the season is 34.7. So they actually have slipped about 4 points per game as of late to guards. So again, that's an area, the backcourt, I think you could definitely target with Atlanta. Just as far as Las Vegas, you could probably target them a little bit as for Atlanta with Atlanta players. I am still favoring the backcourt of Las Vegas in this game over Atlanta. I love Atlanta's front court over Vegas, but the backcourt definitely I favor McBride with Plum. On the other side of the ball, Atlanta's coming in their last 4 games, giving up 46 points per game to forwards and centers, and their average is 49.5 points per game during the course of the season. That is an improvement of 3.5 over the course of the last 4 games. And then at guard, they're giving up 30 points per game in the last 4 games, and their average is 31 during the course of the season. That's also an improvement by 1. So they actually have been playing well, pretty well up front and in the backcourt over the course of the last 4 games. But I still think Vegas, with their up-tempo style, how quickly they can get up and down the court. I really like also the guard play of McBride and Plum over Tiffany Hayes, was pretty solid all around as far as 25 to 30 point average guard. But I'm not too convinced on her surrounding cast of other guards on the team like Sykes and Montgomery and Bentley. All right, go to the game. Kayla McBride definitely in play, man. I think she is definitely the one to go here. The one that you could definitely target here and against Atlanta. 27, 17, 2, 4, and 2 in the last game at 29.4%. She has put at least close to her average 30. And let's see here. Pretty much in the last pretty much the last 4 games, she's at about 29 plus. So she's been solid. The minutes are good. We know that she's what she's capable of. The beauty of it is that we know she has an upside. She can get you high 40s. All right. When she last played, these teams only. Matter of fact, I didn't think I told you guys. These guys played each other one time before, and Atlanta won that game 87-83. Something definitely important to mention. But a McBride, again, 7 out of the last 9. At least her average of 29 up. She has 45-point or better upside. And then in that one game against Atlanta, she didn't have the greatest performance. She played 34 minutes, got 13, 6, and 1, and 2 steals, 25.7 fantasy points. But we know that she's what she's capable of. She gets up for these big games as well. She knows she's playing one of the top teams, and not only that, they're fighting for a playoff spot, so you could expect McBride to play well. Tiffany Hayes, solid play. I think she's good at this in this matchup as well, but she doesn't have the same upside. I prefer McBride for $100 more. I take Kayla McBride any day over Tiffany Hayes as far as them matching up, or anybody that's in that $7,600 range. Next in play, so I'm not going to go over Tiffany Hayes. I like McBride better. Kelsey Plum, I like her. Her price is pretty pricey. She's at $6,100. She needs to get about 30 to meet that. Can get you 30. She's had 4 straight games that she has at least met her value or better, as you can see at 35, 24, 21, and 24. So you always look at that first, but that price is way past what her average is, and she is capable of getting you 24 to about 25, 26 on a regular basis, which is still above that. So I'll probably fade her, but if I'm going to look to target guards in this matchup, I definitely like McBride and Plum over Hayes with Sykes or with Montgomery. Now, slide a little bit late down here more. I'm not on Sykes. I'm not on Tamara Young. Renee Montgomery, possibly 5,200. I kind of like Alex Bentley because she's had a little success already against Las Vegas. She's at 4,500. You need about 22, and that's not too far away from her average of 17. and she's been on a rise as of late, and she's been starting to get a little bit more time on the floor. 23 and 21 in the last 2 games, 19-1, 2-2, and an 11-2, 7-1. 27 fantasy points here and 26 pretty much here. That is pretty darn good as of the last couple of games. And not only that, when she played excuse me, looking for Vegas here. When she last plays Vegas, as you can see here, in 28 minutes, she put a 10-2-6, 20.4 fantasy points. And the previous time, is that the only game? Yeah, that's the only game. Okay, so she put a 20 spot in the last game against them. So not too bad, man. Not too bad at all. Alex Bentley, I think, is definitely could be someone that you could definitely target here. Sorry about that. Okay, so Renee, Alex Bentley. Yeah, so Alex Bentley. Then we got Mariah Jefferson, not on her. Nobody else pretty much here. Let's go to the forwards. This is going to be pretty simple here, too. Asia Wilson is definitely in play. McCoughtry, Breland, Elizabeth Williams, and that is pretty much it. Maybe Polly Caroline Swords could be a possible option here as a low-value play. Once again, they're going to need her up front, especially with McCoughtry, Breland, and Williams. But we go here to Asia Wilson first. I mean, she has 50-point upside, 8,300. You pretty much need about 42, and that's pretty much close to her range. So she's priced about right, you know, here on FanDuel, as opposed to some of the other girls. Didn't have a great game here against Connecticut, but still got 31 fantasy points in 26 minutes. Obviously, she got massive amount of points, 24 points from the floor, but she didn't do a whole lot more in other areas. Maybe possibly was in foul trouble for her to have those minimal minutes. But they're all, at the same time, I think they weren't in the game. So if I remember correctly, that was pretty much a blowout by Connecticut. Connecticut was really solid in that game. But nonetheless, definitely one of the top players in the league. She is definitely someone you can consider here. So no hands about it. There's no need for me to go any further there. Am I on her today? Probably not going to be on her today. This matchup is really a little difficult one. Angel McCoughtry, Jessica Breland, they're long, they're lengthy, they're fast, they're pretty good defenders as well, especially Breland and Elizabeth Williams. So I'm favoring this front court. I think if this is an area to target Las Vegas, you definitely want to target them with Atlanta front court players. So Angel McCoughtry to me is in play, 7,500. You need about 37. She's averaging 31, so she's pretty close to that range. She could be in the 7,200 or 7,100 range. Will be more practical, but that is not too far off. Playing good minutes over here. Unfortunately, only played 20 minutes here, but we're not going to go by that. They did play one time before, and Vegas, and she put here is right down here. Let me just scroll down a little bit more. Right here, 32 minutes, 23, 9, 6, and 2, 47.8 fantasy points. Had a solid game against Las Vegas. So again, it's a tough matchup for Asia Wilson. Especially when you have to deal with her, and then knowing that Jessica Breland is right behind her as well. So I like McCoughtry here at 7,500, and I also do love Jessica Breland here as well. Either one of these two girls is going to have a massive game, and I wouldn't be surprised if out of the 3 girls, 2 of them have a massive game. And me personally, I feel they could definitely need to perform up front, Atlanta, in this case, to actually win this game. It's going to be very hard for Vegas to win if these girls up front do their job and they get busy. So Jessica Breland, 7,300, pretty much in the same range, about 35, 36 you need to cover there. And then her game against Vegas, she played 26 minutes, put 8, 9, 3, 2, filled up the stat sheet, got 25 fantasy points. Again, there goes 2 girls that pretty much did their job in the first outing against Las Vegas, and it's going to be really, really tough. And if you don't want to pay up 73 or 7,500, you could always take a stab at Elizabeth Williams. Will 20, you need 6,500, you need about 32 from that. That is pretty high for her. That is one area I do not like. Her price is a little high. It would be nice if she was at 59 or even 6,000. It'll probably be more practical. 22 fantasy points, but we look to see if she's been in that area, and she has been. 2 out of the last 3 games, 4 out of the last 5 games, or 6 games. She's been pretty good. And then, of course, we take a look to see how she did against Las Vegas. She did play 27 minutes, 4, 6, 1, 2, and 1. Solid all across the board. Pretty much 21 fantasy points, so not too bad. So among the 3 front court players, they got pretty much almost like 80 80 to 85 fantasy points against Vegas the first time around. It's going to be very, very hard for Hamby or anybody else to handle them. But this is where Caroline Swords comes in. She's going to need to come in there and play well, so she could possibly be a play at 3,900. So that's definitely someone you can consider. I'm not on Billings unless this game happens to become a blowout. I was on her in the last game. She did not perform enough for me. Derricka Hamby is a little up and down. I know she's been playing more minutes and getting back in the rotation quite a bit, but I don't think it's enough from her there for me to select her. We go to Minnesota and Chicago. We have a 167 implied total for this game. Minnesota is favored by 4.5 on the road. Minnesota is coming in 15-13. They're pretty much the 7th seed in the standings, and they're 7-7 on the road. They are 2-3 over the course of the last 5 games, and they're coming in losing 3 games in a row. Minnesota is doing the same thing. They're in the same position as Dallas was when they went through that losing streak. Finally, Dallas got off the hump, got a win the other day, looked pretty good. They need to keep that going, but Minnesota's been going down as of late, and it's going to be a tough road for them. They've lost 3 in a row. They got to play Chicago today, which is no pushover, because they're going to play for pride and they're going to play hard. Then they got to go to play Las Vegas, then Seattle, then Chicago again, then Connecticut, then Washington. That's a tough schedule. They need to win at least 4 or 5 of those games to make the playoffs, and if they lose any more than that, they're going to have a problem. So they definitely need to win this 4. This is an imperative, important game for Minnesota, so it should be a battle all the way to the end. Chicago comes in. They're 10th in the standings, 10-18. They're 6-8 at home, so they're okay, almost a 500 team at home. In the last 5 games, they're 3-2. They have been playing a lot better as of late. I think they're like 6-4 over the course of 10 games or something like that. But they're 3.5 games back from the playoff spot, so they're playing for a possible last-minute run here. So don't fall asleep in Chicago. We've talked about this before. Chicago gets up for big games. This is a big game. They're playing the reigning champions who have been looking like crap. They need to come in there and make a statement right away. If they can do that, this can be a very, very dangerous game for Minnesota as well. All right, and it begins right here, of course, with these girls here. But before we go that, like I said before, the information for the team statistics are in that sheet that I had shown you guys earlier. You can always go back and take a look at that. Last 4 games, Minnesota coming in have given up 50.4 points per game to forwards and centers. That is actually 10 points more. So they've been really struggling up front from their season average of 40.4 points per game. Their backcourt is doing a little bit better. They're at 30 points per game given up to guards, and their average is 32.9, which is 7th in the league, in the middle of the pack. They actually have improved over the course of those 4 games by 2.5. When we look at the Chicago side of the ball, the last 4 games against their opponents, forwards and centers have been putting up 56 points per game against them in the front court from an average of 53.8, so about maybe 2.2 more points per game over the course of the last 4 games. And the guards are coming in putting up 35.2 points per game against them, and their average there is 34 points per game for the season, which is a negative point and a negative 1 point. So they have had their struggles there. So we're looking at what we get out of this. Well, we could look at that Minnesota. They've been struggling up front, so we definitely are going to try to focus on maybe some Chicago players, maybe one. But I think the strong point for Chicago is definitely their backcourt, and I love their backcourt against Minnesota's backcourt. So I would say to you guys out there, definitely try to target 1 or 2 players from Chicago's backcourt. They got a solid backcourt in Vandersloot and Allie Quigley. We go right now to the actual slate itself, the game. We have guards here. We have Courtney Vandersloot, definitely in play, 8,100. You need about 40 from her, and she has been pretty solid. 4 out of her last 5 games, she's been at 40 plus, and that's way above her average of 31.7. And if we were to look at her average 31.7, pretty much round that off to 32. She's been at that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of her last 8 games. She has been truly solid. Okay, truly solid. Again, also, these guys also have played one time before. And I forgot to mention that Chicago actually won that game 77-63. And it was all due to, of course, they were just defended, and Minnesota's players did not shoot the ball as well. And if they go out there and they defend fouls and they double team her like most of the teams have been doing as of late, Chicago could be a very surprise winner here tonight once again against Minnesota. But Courtney Vandersloot definitely in play, man. And then she actually in the games against Minnesota. She put here 33, pretty much a 34 spot in 29 minutes in the last game against Minnesota in that one game. So she's been solid. I think she's going to be just right on. Diamond DeShields, pretty good. Didn't have the same massive game against Minnesota. A little pricey for me, so I'm going to definitely fade her. I think if you're going to go here between these two girls, we know that she plays mostly small forward. That may be an advantage for her today, simply because of we have Rebecca Brunson out, and that's definitely going to open the doors for Diamond DeShields. So, as a matter of fact, let me change that. I will definitely take a look at that, and I'll come back with you guys later and let you know if I think that's a great play. But looking at the matchup, knowing that she plays the 3 slot, and then knowing that Brunson, when she comes in, she usually plays the 3 or the 4, she would have seen a little bit of Diamond DeShields. This may be an advantage for them. And this is also opening up the doors for Chicago to have even a more explosive game, especially if Diamond DeShields and one of those front court players, either Cheyenne Parker or Stephanie Dolson, is right on today. But Vandersloot is definitely in play, so there may be a possibility. She may be a possibility for Diamond DeShields. Allie Quigley, I definitely like here as well, 6,300. She is at an average of about 23, and she's been definitely doing her part there. 23 plus in 4 out of her last 5 games, as you can see here. So she's been pretty solid. And against Minnesota, she did put up a solid 36 fantasy points in 28 minutes. So again, this backcourt is very, very dangerous for Minnesota, you know, as far as for them to defend them. And I think they're going to still have an issue again today. And with no Brunson up front, it's going to be an opportunity for Chicago to do some work up front as well. Gabby Williams could be possibly someone in play. Remember, she plays forward as well for Chicago. She's not normally doesn't play any guard whatsoever. So she's someone that you may consider the target too at 5,000. You need 25 from her. And then down here, I'm not on anybody. You could consider Kalia Copper possibly for a value play. She is been getting sufficient enough minutes for you, especially if this game gets out of hand. But she's been in the game even when the games are close. So she may be a viable option. We go to forward. Sylvia Fowles, obviously in play. She's 50-point upside. I'm not on Sylvia Fowles. She has really been struggling as of late until I see some sort of... And it's not a matter of being struggling. It's that their teams are starting to get smarter. They're starting to attack Minnesota and really playing, you know, they're trapping Sylvia Fowles. They're double teaming her, and they're making it really, really hard for her to dish and get those balls away. She's been committing silly fouls. She's definitely foul prone, and at the same time, she is turnover prone as well. So a lot of little areas that I don't like about Sylvia's game at the moment, but that's all due to the teams that are playing against them are really targeting her as someone that they can definitely, they see vulnerability from. So Maya Moore is probably the better bet at 7,700. Her numbers have come down because her field goal percentage has been really, really bad. She takes a lot of shots. She has upside, so that's only the reason why I would mention her. She was pretty steady all year long, but in the last 4 or 5 games, she hasn't been that steady. Her field goal percentage has been really up and down. So a little scary of a risk here, but if they're going to compete in this game, they definitely need somebody up front to play well, and it's going to have to be Maya Moore, especially with Brunson out. This is where we're going to see some value for Minnesota because they got at least 3 girls off the bench that can definitely contribute. So I would say she's definitely the best out of the stud Minnesota players. Definitely Maya Moore is in a better position to have the better game. Cheyenne Parker in play definitely for Chicago. She's had 4 out of her last 5 or 6 games at least her value, at her average of 22. So you got here 1, 2, 3, 4 out of her last 5 at 22 plus. She doesn't play massive minutes, but when she's in there, she's very productive. She's getting more than 1 fantasy point per minute. And if they give her just a little bit more time today, she could probably have a 25 to 30 spot game. So I definitely like her there at 6. It's a little pricey, but I think she can get you there. And of course, that helps when you have no Rebecca Brunson. So you got Stephanie Dolson in play as well. She's at 5,900. You need 29. She is averaging 23, but she's been at 22 or better for 6 out of the last 8 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, she's been solid enough. She gets enough minutes. She can get you close to 30. She doesn't have big upside as one of the big front court players in the league, but she could shoot the 3. She shoots well from the key. She's not a bad free throw shooter, and if she's left open in the wing or anywhere in the perimeter, she can nail down those shots. So and that's the kind of play that they have. They spread the offense out a little bit simply because they rather see Cheyenne do all the dirty work up front and then have that ball kick back to Allie Quigley and to Vandersloot and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of game that they play in and out for Chicago. So again, Dawson is someone you can consider. Then we got some value here. We got the next 4 girls I think are really good value plays. I don't know who's gonna have the upper hand today, but we know that Fag Bentley is gonna get some time. We know that Zalda Lazini is gonna get some time, and Larkins. All 3 of these girls here are gonna get some time. Larkins being the bigger, broader player, but I like that I see that they have an opportunity here to at least get a little quicker by having Cecilia and Fag Bentley get on the floor a little bit more than Larkins, because Larkins is a little bit bigger. At least that's my mindset. As if I was coaching, I would probably want to have a little bit more speed, a little bit more defense, more rebounding. Fag Bentley is definitely that there, as well as Larkins. Cecilia is more better as a shooter. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting how they go. But any one of these 3 girls are definitely in play. Then for Chicago, I definitely like Miss Coates here. So definitely don't fall asleep on her. I think she's one of the better value plays here. Elena Coates has been playing a few minutes more lately, 13, 15, and 17. She's been producing 11, 3, and 7. Not too bad. And then she also had a nice game against Minnesota. She played 12 minutes, got 6, 3, and 1, got 11 fantasy points, nearly 1 fantasy point per minute. And then I see that as an opportunity simply also because there's no Rebecca Brunson. Miss Parker doesn't play large minutes. Miss Dawson doesn't play large minutes, so somebody's going to come in and get some minutes, and it's going to be Miss Elena Coates. So definitely someone to consider there. I think this game is a good game to target for front court help at value. We go to Phoenix and Washington. Last game on the slate. Washington is implied totals of this game is 170. It has the highest scoring implied totals for the 4-game slate tonight, with 170, and Phoenix at home favored by 3. Washington comes in 4th in the league in the standings. They're 16-11, and they're 8-6 on the road. One of the better playing teams on the road in the entire league. All right, in the last 5 games, they're 3-2. Phoenix is coming in. They're 6th in the standings. Definitely trying to get a game here on Washington. They come in at 16-13, and they're 5-7 at home. That is one of the poorest records for a home team with a team with 16 wins in the entire league. That is pretty bad. Definitely an advantage for Washington to come in there as a good road team, and Phoenix being a bad road team. And on top of that, Phoenix is coming in 2-8 in their last 10 games and 1-4 over the course of the last 5 games. They have been struggling up and down, and this all starts with Taurasi. Same thing with the same way Dallas with all the complaining and all the nonsense that Cam Page and all the dumb and the stupid coaching rotations for Dallas. Phoenix is not the coaching, it's just Taurasi is just out of her mind as of late. I mean, I don't know what's going on with her, but she is definitely losing it, and then some frustration is coming in as well with the referees, with her as well, and then that is obviously reflecting in her play. But of course, she's always going to be dangerous. So Phoenix, these teams have played each other twice, and they both have won 1 game each, I believe, in each other's court. We come in the last 4 games. Remember, again, the team stats are right here for Phoenix and Washington. You can always go back and take a look at that by pausing the video after you watch the actual entire video. We come in here, last 4 games. That information is always important, so you get at least a gauge of where we're going to go. So last 4 games for Washington, 52.6 points per game given up to forwards and centers. Their average for the year is 50.3, so they've actually been giving up about 2 to 2.5 more points per game over the last 4 games. In the last 4 games against guards, they've been averaging 32.5 points per game against Washington, but their average is 31.4 during the course of the season. So just giving up at least another entire point over to guards. On the other side of the ball, Phoenix definitely struggling on both ends, giving up 52.2 points per game to forwards and centers over the course of the last 4 games and maybe beyond, considering that 2-8 record over the last 10 games. Their average for the season is still 41.1 on average. That is a negative 5 more points per game given up to forwards and centers over the course of the last 4. And then guards are putting in 40 points per game against Phoenix's guard defense, and they're averaging 33 points per game during the course of the year. That's also a negative 7. So the guards are actually been giving up more points than the forwards, but both of them have been definitely struggling. That's combined 13 more points per game, which is really a bummer. So when we look at those numbers right away, I'm saying, all right, Phoenix, we definitely got to target them with the Washington front court. I love Washington in this game, to be totally honest with you. Phoenix is definitely struggling. I see a little bit more weapons for Washington up front with Della, Donne, and Miss Sanders, and then knowing that you also have Miss Hawkins, who plays fairly well, gets a number of minutes, has good field goal percentage, can hit the three. As someone that comes off the bench has been really productive. And then, of course, you got to look at Washington guards, man. You got Tolliver, you got Cloud, Ariel Atkins. They've all been playing fairly well. So, I mean, and then when you look at the other side of the ball, Phoenix, if you want to target anybody in Washington, probably in the front court with Bonner. I think Bonner is probably the best possible play here for Phoenix, and possibly, of course, Brittney Griner. They both have had the best success against them. Diana Taurasi's been struggling so much as of late that I don't know if I'm going to even touch her. But let's go over the actual players in the game. Diana Taurasi, 8,000. You need 40. She is in play, guys. Obviously, she is one of the top dogs. She's the leading scorer of the WNBA ever. She's just been playing poorly as of late, and until I see her get herself to calm down a little bit and get back to her game, and not be so flamboyant and so on and so forth, I probably would fade her. I think there's a couple of nice guards. If you wanted to go with a stud guard, there's a couple of nice ones tonight that are probably in a more favorable position. So Diana Taurasi is in play, but I'm not on her. DeWanna Bonner, definitely in play. I definitely like DeWanna Bonner here. Bonner, as you know, she plays 3, 4. She plays the 5. She plays the 1, 2. She can play anywhere. I mean, she plays pretty much all the positions, but she mostly starts at the 3 for Phoenix. Massive minutes, and she's been playing really, really well. I mean, Bonner, 7,900, you need 39, and she's averaging 32, and we look to see if she's been at least averaging 32, and she's been doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of her last 8 games at 32 plus. That's enough to take even a longer look at her. Then we go and we look to see, all right, what's the next thing we can do? Let's see how she's done against Washington in the 2 meetings. Washington here, last meeting, 39 spot in 36 minutes, more than 1 fantasy point per minute. She put a 23-8-3 in 1 line. That is incredible. Very, very nice showing. And then the first time around, a 42 spot in 32 minutes, more than 1 fantasy point per minute, 25-2, 4, 1, and 2. And I told you all year long, every time I discussed DeWanna Bonner and Diana Taurasi, these 2 girls in the backcourt, they pretty much average. They're almost literally every game are in position to be at 1 fantasy point per minute. And obviously DeWanna Bonner has been doing that as of late the most. Diana Taurasi's been struggling. So let's go with DeWanna Bonner, $100 cheaper over Taurasi. Next we got Kristi Tolliver. Obviously for games like this, I always say it all the time, she gets up for big games. Sometimes she does well and sometimes she doesn't. But again, I'm going to bank that she's going to actually have a fairly good game here. 6,200, you need 31 from her, and she has put at least her average of 24 in 4 out of the pretty much 1, 2, 3, about 5 out of her last 8 games. She's hit at least 24 or better. Okay, when she played Phoenix, the 2 meetings, last game out, didn't have a great game. All right, didn't have a good shooting game. 13.6 fantasy points in 36 minutes. So a very poor performance. But the first game, she had a much better game at Phoenix, and that's where they're going to play at again. She loves to play on the road. 40.6 fantasy points, 34 minutes, 30 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. I mean, a very explosive game, and that's what she can bring to the table any given day, is that she's capable of getting you 30 or better. All right, she can get up close to 40 at times, but she gets really up for the better games. So this is where you might want to consider Kristi Tolliver if you're going to target anybody in this game. Obviously in the backcourt, Washington's backcourt with Tolliver is definitely a good play. Ariel Atkins, like her there as well, 5,600. A little pricey for Ariel, but she's been playing well enough. You need about 27, and we focus first if she's going to be somewhere near her 20-21, and she has been once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Pretty much 6 out of her last 8 or 9 games, she's at least reached that target, and she has the potential to maybe get you close to 40. She had a nice 40-spot game here against Chicago. All right, when she last played against Phoenix, she didn't play with Phoenix against Phoenix here in the last meeting. She was not in that game. But in game 1, you can see here, 29.9, pretty much 30 fantasy points in 29 minutes, had a solid game. Did have 4 turnovers. So double A there is definitely someone you can consider. Natasha Cloud, obviously you can consider as well, 4,800. Okay. She is in a good spot as well. She's averaging 20, 4,800. You need pretty much about 24. So it's not too far away. Her price could be at a 45 or 4,600 would be more realistic for what she's averaging. But they do that because they know that she has the upside to get a little bit more. So 22 and 22. She's been averaging at least 20 or more over the last 1, 2, pretty much 3 out of the last maybe 4 out of the last 7 games or 8 games. So she has the potential. I like her there. I think I like Ariel Atkins and Kristi Tolliver a little bit more than Cloud today. We go to Phoenix here. Definitely consider any one of these two girls. They're both around the same price. Talbot has been really, really good as of late for Phoenix. She's at 4,400 and need pretty much 22, and she's been near that range. Her average is 7, and that's obvious because she didn't play a whole lot throughout the year. But when she has played over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, she's been averaging way above that, 15.5, and that's the reason why this number is going to keep climbing the longer she keeps performing. And they're giving it to her because Taurasi has been so bad at times that they have had no choice but to bring Talbot in here to calm her down. She's been getting in foul problems and so on and so forth. So if they can get her under the skin of Taurasi, then you could see some more Stephanie. So I think she's in play. They're really liking what she's been giving the team. And then you got Breonna January at 4,300. Could consider her as well. She need about 21 or so, and she's been in that range as well as of late. And she's been getting the minutes, 23 to as high as 37, 33 minutes. That's not too bad. We don't expect her to put large amounts of points, but if she can get her 3 going and they can open up the floor for her, she could be dangerous. She's the top 3-point shooter as far as percentage in the throughout the season in the WNBA. So definitely someone to consider here also. I'm not on anybody else other than maybe, just maybe Monique Curry, just simply because she does get some floor time. She could be someone you consider. We go to forwards. Brittney Griner, obviously in play, 8,600, need about 43. She's been a little up and down too over the course of the last 7 games because I look at the average first, and as you can see, she's only hit that average 3 out of the last like 7 or 8 games. So a little up and down there, but she's had great success against Washington up front. 48, and that's because Della, like I mentioned before in previous videos, Della plays well. I love her. She's a great ball player. She's not a banger. She's not going to be under the boards just banging away like that. You know, this is where Brittney is good. She gets in the paint, and this is where she gets most of her points from. So 38, 24, 7, 4, and 3 and 1 is solid lines all the way across. 48 fantasy points for her. And then the first time around, where am I at? Washington. Then the first time around, 35 minutes. 31 fantasy points, 27, 5, and 1. Not too bad. She did have 5 turnovers in that game, but that was the first game of the season for her. But she's in play. A little pricey. I will obviously prefer Della for $200 cheaper. Brings a lot more to the table. You know, both Griner and Della can give you 50-point upside, as you can see here. Della 8,400. You need about 42, and she's averaging 39. And then we look to see if she's at 39. Well, once, twice out of the last 4 games, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the last 8 games, she's been pretty much at 39 plus. And of course, she's hit 50 pretty much 2 times there. She is good for 42 to 48 almost any given day. But of course, she has that upside potential, and she's a stud. So Della in play in this matchup. I think she'll be good here. Sanders is another one you can consider up front in this matchup. I think Washington really has a good chance here today to go into Phoenix and beat Phoenix once again. LaToya Sanders, pretty much averaging 24 to 29 minutes, and she's been in that range. She's at 6,600, you need about 33, and she's averaging 25. And then she's been doing 25 pretty much once, twice, 3 times over the last 5 games, 4 out of the last 6 games. You know, she's been good. 5, 6, 7, pretty much 6 or 7 out of the last 8 games. Her and DeWanna Bonner are going to probably have a nice battle today. Obviously, I definitely give the advantage to Bonner, but Sanders is definitely going to need. She's going to bang. She's a banger. She could be just a little bit foul prone. So hopefully she'll stay away from that and not get into the point where she fouls a lot. Ms. Griner over here and puts on the floor, because Brittney Griner is not a bad free throw shooter. We go down here to the bottom. So Sanders is someone they definitely consider at 6,600. I do like Arielle Powers here as well, 4,100. I think she's in a good spot too. And not only that, she's actually been getting involved in this offense as of late. She's been getting some floor time. Started with 3, then 18 and 19. Maybe today she'll get 20 to 22. Slowly but surely, they're incorporating her. She had a nice balanced sheet here, man. The stat sheet was beautiful in the last game. 19 minutes, 7, 6, 1, 2, and 1. Only 2 turnovers, 22 fantasy points. She's capable of getting you in the mid-20s. As you can see here, 28 as well. At that price, that's not too bad. You can get 6x off of her. You're in a good spot. And I think that this is where they have the advantage. When they have Della, Sanders, and they can get Powers in there, because Brittney Griner, the help here between Lyttle and Robinson has been little to none. It's been horrible. And then you got not only that to deal with Powers, you have to deal with Hawkins. So I'm not on Lyttle, I'm not on Robinson. I love Hawkins here at 3,300. Miss Hawkins is a tough girl, man. She plays minimal minutes, but she almost always gives you some sort of good play. Right here, 5, 1, 1, and 1 in the last game. Over here when she got 10, she got 4 and 5 and 1. You know what I mean? She can get you 12. She has capable of getting you 20. So she has 20-point upside. If she can get you 25 at 3,100, you know, you're getting 5x for 3x pricing. That is not bad at all. And then she's in a matchup where she's favorable. I could see her having a good game against these guys. You know, knowing that they're gonna she's gonna deal with Lyttle and Robinson up front. There's no Sancho Lyttle. She's a much better player. And real quickly again, let me go back to her. I didn't look her stat line, but I think she did have a decent game against these guys. Phoenix, right here, 13 minutes, 16 fantasy points. That's more than 1 fantasy point per minute, guys. 5, 5, and 2. Definitely a nice stat line. And look at this game. Early on in the year, they gave her the time on the floor, and she put up 28 fantasy points in 33 minutes in the first game against Phoenix back on May the 30th. Put a stat line of 13, 12, 3. Did have 4 turnovers. That could have been 31 fantasy points. So definitely, Miss Hawkins is definitely someone to consider here. And I am not on anybody else, man, to be totally honest with you. But again, this is all me looking through it right now and then just touching base on it a little bit last night before going to bed. I'm going to obviously dissect all of this stuff. I'm going to look over all the numbers, and I'm going to come back at 6 o'clock with the live show. Please come and join me. Let's discuss the slate. We'll go over the games, the actual slate itself. I'm going to come back and tell you what I think are the best possible plays. I'm going to tell you what I think are the best game stack, team stacks, like always, and the best value plays. We touched on some of them already. I think a lot of those are still in play going on to later on. We'll be on top of the injury news, and I'll let you know if anything else is new, any changes in the actual implied totals. All of that will be covered on the live show later on, guys. I hope you guys join me. I hope you like the video. Please drop a like, and if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe down below so you can always get this good, valuable information prior to you making your lineup decisions every single day. And remember, NBA, NFL is coming up, and we're going to be very much covering all of that. Okay, guys? All right, man. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see all of you guys later on at 6 o'clock.